The most dangerous prison is not made of iron. It is built from memories, fears, and thoughts you mistake for yourself. The prison they desperately want to escape from is the one they built inside their own minds. There was once a question that troubled a young man so deeply that it stole his sleep. He had food, he had shelter, he had people around him, yet every morning felt heavy. Every night felt restless, and no matter where he went, something followed him. A silent weight, a shadow without a shape. He believed peace was somewhere else, beyond the mountains, beyond success, beyond achievement, beyond tomorrow. But one encounter would reveal a truth so unexpected that it would change the direction of his life forever. And if you stay until the end of this story, you may discover something equally unsettling, that the thing preventing your peace is not what happened to you. It may be what you refuse to release. Many centuries ago, at the edge of a vast forest where mist floated between ancient cedar trees, there lived a wandering monk. No one knew his real name. Travelers simply called him the listener, because whenever people sat before him, he spoke very little. Yet somehow they left lighter than when they arrived. Some claimed he possessed hidden wisdom. Others believed he could see into the human soul. The truth was far simpler and far deeper. One autumn morning, a young traveler arrived at the monk's hut. His clothes were clean. His body was healthy, yet his eyes looked tired. Not physically tired, spiritually tired. The monk invited him inside. A small candle flickered in the corner. Rain tapped softly against the wooden roof. For several minutes neither of them spoke. Finally, the young man broke the silence. "I want peace." The monk nodded. "Where have you looked for it?" The young man laughed bitterly. "Everywhere." He explained how he had traveled through cities filled with wealth. He had studied under respected teachers. He had worked harder than his friends. He had chased goals, collected achievements, earned admiration. But peace always remained just out of reach, like a horizon moving farther away every time he approached it. The monk listened quietly. Then he asked a strange question. If a man is thirsty but carries water on his back, where should he search? The traveler frowned. He shouldn't search. He already has water. The monk smiled. Then why do you search for what may already be within you? The traveler felt irritated. He had heard phrases like that before. Empty words, beautiful, but useless. If peace was already within him, why did he feel so miserable? The monk seemed to sense his frustration. Without another word, he stood and walked outside. The traveler followed. Together they entered the forest. The deeper they walked, the quieter the world became. Birds chirped in distant branches. Wind whispered through leaves turning gold. The air smelled of earth and rain. Eventually they reached a narrow river. Its water flowed gently between smooth stones. The monk sat beside it. "Look!" The traveler stared at the river. Nothing happened. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The young man became impatient. "What am I supposed to see?" The monk pointed at the surface. At first, the traveler saw only moving water, but slowly he noticed something else. His reflection, distorted, broken, shaking with every ripple. The monk asked, "Can you see yourself clearly?" "No. Why not?" "The water keeps moving." The monk nodded. Then they sat in silence. Eventually the river grew calmer. The reflection became clearer, more stable, more recognizable. The monk finally spoke. "Your mind is the same." The traveler looked at the river, then back at the monk. "Are you saying my suffering is only in my mind?" "No." The monk's voice remained gentle. "Your suffering is real, but your inability to see clearly comes from the turbulence around it." The words lingered, yet they did not fully answer the question, because if calmness was the answer, why couldn't he simply become calm? Why was peace so difficult? The monk stood again. "Come." They continued deeper into the forest. Hours passed. The path became steeper, the trees thicker, dark clouds gathered overhead. Soon rain began to fall. At first it was gentle, then fierce. Wind roared through the mountains, branches bent violently. The traveler struggled to keep his footing. Finally, they reached a cliff overlooking a valley. There, standing completely exposed to the storm, was an ancient tree. Its trunk twisted, its bark scarred. Several branches were broken, yet it stood unmoving. Rooted, steady. The monk pointed toward it. "What do you see?" "A damaged tree." The monk smiled. "I see peace." The traveler stared at him in disbelief. "Peace? In the middle of a storm?" The monk continued. "Most people believe peace means the absence of storms." Thunder echoed across the valley. But true peace is remaining rooted while storms pass through. The young man felt something shift inside him, only slightly, like the first crack in a wall built over many years. Still, another question haunted him. If peace was not found by controlling the storm, then what was he supposed to do? The answer did not come immediately. Instead, the monk led him farther into the mountains. For 3 days they traveled together, crossing rivers, climbing rocky paths, sleeping beneath stars. And during those days, something unusual happened. The monk rarely taught, rarely explained, rarely gave advice. Instead, he observed, watched, listened. On the 4th day, they arrived at an abandoned temple. Its stone walls were weathered by centuries. Vines crawled across cracked pillars. Inside stood a massive bronze mirror, tarnished, ancient, silent. The monk handed the traveler a cloth. "Clean it." The young man spent hours polishing the surface. Dust disappeared, then grime, then stains. Slowly the mirror began reflecting light. By sunset it gleamed. The traveler admired his work. The monk approached. What changed? The mirror became clear. No. The monk shook his head. The mirror was always capable of reflecting clearly. The traveler froze. Something about those words felt important. The monk touched the mirror. The dust was never the mirror. Silence filled the temple. Then the monk turned toward him. Your fears are not you. Your regrets are not you. Your anxiety is not you. Your anger is not you. They are dust. The traveler felt a strange ache in his chest, because for years he had treated every thought as truth, every fear as reality, every emotion as identity. He had become attached to passing clouds and forgotten the sky behind them. That night he could not sleep. The monk's words echoed endlessly. The dust was never the mirror. The dust was never the mirror. The dust was never the mirror. Before sunrise he walked alone into the forest. Mist drifted between trees. Moonlight faded slowly, and there, surrounded by silence, he faced something he had avoided his entire life, himself. Not the version others saw, not the version he pretended to be. The hidden version, the frightened version, the wounded version, the version carrying old failures, old embarrassments, old grief, memories. He replayed repeatedly. Mistakes he could not forgive, dreams that never happened. For the first time he stopped running from them. He simply sat and watched, like clouds crossing the sky. At first the experience was terrifying. Pain surfaced, regret surfaced, fear surfaced. But something unexpected happened. The more he observed them, the less power they held, because he began realizing a truth most people never discover. Thoughts demand attention, but they do not deserve obedience. A memory appeared, then disappeared. A fear appeared, then disappeared. An emotion appeared, then disappeared, like leaves floating down a river. For hours he remained there, watching, breathing, listening, not fighting, not chasing, not resisting, and somewhere between darkness and dawn, the burden he had carried for years began loosening, not because his problems vanished, not because life suddenly became easy, but because he finally stopped trying to control everything. When he returned to the temple, the monk was waiting, as if he already knew. The traveler sat beside him. Neither spoke. The sun slowly rose above distant mountains. Golden light spilled across the valley. Finally the monk asked one question. What disturbed your peace? The traveler thought carefully, then smiled. My resistance. The monk nodded. Because that was the answer. Not the storm, not the mountain, not the river, not the world. Resistance, the endless struggle against what already existed, the refusal to accept uncertainty, the obsession with controlling the uncontrollable, the attachment to thoughts that were never meant to stay. Years later, the traveler became known as a wise teacher himself. People journeyed great distances seeking answers, and whenever someone asked how to find peace, he never gave a complicated explanation. Instead, he told them about a river, a tree, a mirror, and a storm. The river revealed that a restless mind cannot reflect reality clearly. The tree revealed that peace does not require perfect conditions. The mirror revealed that your true self exists beneath every fear and worry, and the storm revealed that everything passes, even the things that seem unbearable today. Now pause for a moment. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. Think about the battles happening inside your own mind. How many of them are real, and how many are arguments with the past? Arguments with uncertainty. Arguments with things you cannot control? Like the traveler, perhaps you have spent years searching outside yourself, searching through success, relationships, recognition, possessions, achievements. Believing peace waits somewhere in the future. But what if peace is not a destination? What if it is what remains when the struggle finally ends? What if the river becomes still? What if the dust settles? What if you stop fighting every storm? The Buddha taught that suffering often begins not with pain itself, but with our attachment to pain, our attachment to fear, our attachment to the illusion that life must unfold exactly as we demand. Yet life has never made such a promise. The river flows, the seasons change, flowers bloom and fade, the moon waxes and wanes, everything moves, everything transforms, everything passes, including the thoughts troubling you at this very moment. And perhaps that is the deepest freedom of all. You do not need to control every wave. You only need to remember that you are not the wave. You are the ocean beneath it. You do not need to chase every thought. You only need to remember that you are not the thought. You are the awareness observing it. You do not need to eliminate every storm. You only need to become rooted enough to let it pass. Because peace was never hiding from you. It was waiting beneath the noise, waiting beneath the fear, waiting beneath the dust, waiting beneath every story you kept telling yourself about who you are. And maybe tonight, when the world grows quiet and you are left alone with your thoughts, you will remember the traveler, you will remember the river, will remember the mirror, you will remember the tree standing calmly in the storm, and you may discover something that changes everything. The peace you have been searching for your entire life was never somewhere else. It was the silent space within you that never left.